Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of the podcast. My name is Sgambelluri, and I'm excited to talk about a presentation I recently put together, which was quite an intense yet incredibly rewarding project. It was a presentation that delved into the anti-racist movement in Canada, which was deeply sparked by the death of George Floyd, and how this movement has challenged many institutions, particularly the literary world. I also explored how the call to decolonize literature connects to the Holocaust Memoir Night by Elie Wiesel. Through this assignment, I aim to show how literature can be a powerful tool for both reflecting and resisting oppression. It was an eye-opening journey, and I'm really looking forward to reflecting on the experience with you today. What I liked best about the assignment was the opportunity to explore a topic that felt incredibly timely and relevant. The anti-racist movement, especially as it played out in Canada after the killing of George Floyd, is a deeply significant issue, and I felt really passionate about investigating it from a literary perspective. I also found it powerful to think about how movements for racial justice extend beyond the realm of social activism and influence cultural and intellectual spaces like literature. I love that I was able to focus on the call to decolonize the literary world, particularly by considering how authors, including Elie Wiesel's in Night, addresses themes of oppression and injustice. The best part, for me, was connecting these different aspects, current social movements, literary theory, and historical trauma, and trying to see the big picture. It felt like a truly versatile project that allowed me to bring in historical context, critical theory, and contemporary activism all in one. When I look back on the assignment, the best part I enjoyed working on this was connecting Night and the contemporary fight for racial justice. It was deeply fulfilling to think about how literature, like Wiesel's work, transcends its historical context and speaks to broader universal themes of suffering, survival, and human will to resist oppression. Night isn't just a memoir about the Holocaust, it's a meditation on the human experiences in the face of unspeakable violence, something that's still relevant today in the context of racial injustice. As I dug deeper into how literature can serve as both a reflection of society and instrument of resistance, I became more passionate about the idea of decolonizing literary spaces. It felt like I was uncovering something essential, not just about the power of literature, but also about the ongoing importance of addressing the traumas and injustice that continue to shape our world today. The most difficult part of the assignment was without a doubt balancing the scope of such a broad and complex topic. The intersection of racial justice, decolonization, the Holocaust literature is a vast and multifaceted, and trying to distill all these layers into a 24 presentation slide that was clear, engaging, and insightful was a real challenge. I had to carefully choose what to focus on and figure out how to make connections between these big ideas in a way that made sense. For example, the anti-racist movement is still unfolding in real time, and it was challenging to tie to a piece of literature like Night that addresses historical trauma. The difficulty was in finding ways to make these projects come together while also being sensitive to the gravity of both historical and contemporary struggles. I wanted to make sure I was doing justice to both the significance of the anti-racist movement and the delicate nature of the issue explored at Night, which required a lot of careful thought and revision. I think I was most successful at weaving together the lens of feminism and Black Americans in both the anti-racist movement and the narrative of Night. I was really proud of how I linked Wiesel's depiction of suffering under Nazi oppression to the ongoing struggles faced by marginalized communities, especially in the context of racial injustice. By focusing on the ways both movements resist systems of dehumanization, I was able to draw compelling parallels between historical trauma and modern-day activism. I also felt successful in explaining how literature has the power to either uphold or challenge oppressive structures. It felt like I was able to clearly communicate why the movement decolonize the literary world is essential and how it connects to the ongoing fight for racial justice. This integration of literature and social movements was the heart of my presentation, and I felt like it was most successful aspects of my work. One thing I learned from this assignment was how crucial it is to view literature through a lens of mental health. While I also knew literature could be a powerful tool for empathy and understanding, this assignment really opened my eyes to how deeply tied literature is to the systems of power and inequality we see in the world. In exploring the call to decolonize the literary world, I gained a better understanding of how colonial narratives have been embedded in our reading habits, teaching practices, and the literary canon itself. I also learned how the anti-racist movement is not just a response to contemporary issues for police violence or systemic racism, it's more part of a longer, ongoing struggle against colonialism and imperialism. These movements, in a way, mirror the ways that literature has been used historically to both oppression and challenge it. So one key takeaway for me was that decolonization and anti-racism must go hand in hand, not just in politics or education, but also in the world of literature. I would assess my work on the assignment as good. I did a strong job for synthesizing complex ideas and presenting them in a way that was accessible and thought-provoking. I was able to clearly explain the connection between the anti-racist movement in Canada, the need to decolonize literature, and how Knight fits into this larger conversation. However, I recognize these are the areas where I could have gone deeper, particularly in terms of cultural and historical context of the work I discussed. My presentation was solid, but there's also room to strengthen my arguments and bring in more diverse perspectives to enrich the conversation. I gave myself a good grade, but I definitely know where I could improve next time. One thing I need to improve in my next assignment is incorporating more diverse sources into my work. While I focus on important texts like Knight and the anti-racist discourse around George Floyd's death, I could have brought in more direct voices from activists, scholars, and communities who are leading the charge for decolonization and racial injustice today. Adding a wide range of perspectives, especially those of marginalized writers and activists, will not only enrich my work, but also ensure that I'm not only speaking to these issues, but also amplifying the voices that are at the forefront of these movements. In future assignments, I want to be more intentionally about expanding my sources and viewpoints to give a more picture of the topics that I am discussing. One goal I like to focus on in the future is improving my multimedia aspects of my presentation. I feel that more visuals and videos can really bring a topic life and make complex ideas more accessible and engaging. I've realized that while my slides were informative, they lacked the kind of emotional and visual impact that multimedia could provide. For instance, using images or video from protests, interviews, or even powerful readings of literature can make my presentation more immersive and engaging for the audience. I think incorporating more multimedia elements would elevate my work and help my audience connect even more deeply with the material. And that's it for today's podcast. It's been really valuable to reflect on this assignment and the connections I made between the anti-racist movement, decolonization of literature, and Knight. I hope you found this reflection helpful and thought-provoking. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the next episode. Take care and keep engaging with these important conversations.